he's one of his followers. Peter goes, I don't even know him. To the Lord. So what could God do with someone like that? But at the end of John, after he was resurrected, and he and Peter are having this conversation, and he says, when they finished eating, Jesus said to Simon Peter, Simon, son of John, do you love me more than these? He's like, yes, Lord, you know I love you. Jesus said, he didn't say, oh, good, I love you too. He said, feed my lambs. Again, Jesus said, Simon, son of John, do you love me? He answered, yes, Lord, you know that I love you. Jesus said, pastor a big church. Oh, no, he didn't. He said, take care of my sheep. The third time he said to him, Simon, son of John, do you love me? Peter was hurt because Jesus asked him the third time, do you love me? He said, Lord, you know all things. You know that I love you. Jesus said, feed my sheep. Now, we know that he asked him 3 times to cancel out the 3 awful mistakes he made when Peter denied Christ 3 times. So pretty much he said, okay, slate is clean, score's even, right? He restored Peter. But the reason I brought that up here is because, again, how do we show God we love him? Feed my sheep. Peter, do you love me? Yes. Well, then build a big office and do a skateboard ministry for teenagers all over the world, right? No. Not unless that's feeding the sheep. That could be very well how you feed a sheep. He said, Peter, do you love me? Feed my lambs. Take care of them. So in every situation, as Jesus appeared, after he was resurrected, what did he say to people? To his disciples? Go. Save the world. Preach the gospel. Make disciples. Baptize them. Touch people and heal them. He didn't say, let's all congregate. Now he did say, assemble. Be encouraged. Pursue peace with one another. Why? So we can go out in a unified effort, right? There's an urgency, and if anything stirs you on a 9/11 memorial, just remember, there's people dying every day. That 2,700 is a drop in the bucket. That's like nothing. Take any other country in the world who's in civil war. They killed their own 2,700. Okay? Those people are dying. Did they know Jesus? We need to feel an urgency. Now, not everyone has the gift of evangelism that drives some people all over the world. But does your heart break when someone doesn't know Christ? You can do something. You can make an impact on somebody's eternity. That's the urgency we have to have. He was urgent with the disciples 2,000 years ago. It's getting worse. We're one day closer to the end of time. You're one day closer to the grave. Hey, isn't that encouraging?
Yes.
You're one day closer to the grave, and so is the next person next to you. So is your family. So is that person at work, your neighbor, their children. Are we urgent within our hearts to preach the gospel? How do I do that? How do I do that? By walking in a way that is so supernatural and so changed and so different than what the world would say, that people would say, man, what are you no doubt. You have no sin. But when you wake up, are you planning your sin? Are you working on how to deceive others so you can sin? Because God will forgive you later? That is not a Christian. That is not a disciple of Christ. The Bible says, if you do not believe, if you have not trusted on the name of the Lord, you won't be saved. So I pray that some airplane does not crash into your house tomorrow. Because you have some work to do. I challenge you today. How do you go into all the world? Well, you first go into your heart. And you allow God to change it. Because if you really had a changed heart, people would see that and go, you're one of those disciples, aren't you? And you're like, yes. Well, I don't want to hear about all that religion stuff. And you say, good, I don't either. Because religion is about doing, we learned today in our class. Christianity is about it's already done. Christianity means Christ did it. He even stuck around after he did it to tell us what to do with it. He didn't just leave and go, because then we would have no proof that he was alive. But every gospel writer testified, I saw Jesus after he died. And this is what he told us to do. So I think I can believe him. I think I can believe this Jesus. And he said, go. And if you truly believe that, it will change things. Well, what's it supposed to change? Your heart? The sin nature that you're born with, right? What's it supposed to change? Your attitude, your thinking, your motivation, why you do things. Because a lot of people do the right thing, but for the wrong reason. And we know the Bible says, man looks at the outward appearance, but God looks at the heart. A lot of people do a lot of good things, but it's actually for a bad reason. And then there's those people that just keep messing up, but in their heart they want to do the right thing. And God looks at that. He knows the heart. God is calling us to a season in this urgent time of getting on the heart of go, of first submit, change. Let God change you. Because so many of us are so resistant to change, it's killing us right now to sit in a new room. It's killing us to go, oh, I have to go to that door, not that door. It kills us when the boss changes one thing at work. I don't like it that way. It kills us to change. We look at our neighbors, our friends, our family, or maybe ourselves that in a bad way, you're in a bad situation, but you'd rather stay in a bad situation that you know than to change. Now, why do people change? Why do people not change? It's a whole field of psychology. It's called the psychology of change. It's sad that you have to try to outmaneuver somebody's thinking to get them to do something that's good for them and convince them that it's good for them.